This is Vikings United, your ultimate destination for everything Minnesota Vikings. Bringing together the most passionate fans, insightful analysts, and dynamic creators from across Skol Nation. Get ready for deep dives, spirited debates, and exclusive insights from Coach Cody. We're celebrating our community, honoring our heroes, and fueling your fandom with Pillars of Valor coffee. This is more than a show. It's a movement. This is Vikings United.
Handy.
Purple and gold, that's all we know. Purple and gold, we holla Skol. Purple and gold, this how we roll. Purple and gold, now holla Skol. Purple and gold, this how it goes. Purple and gold, we holla Skol. Purple and gold, that's how you know. Purple and gold, now holla Skol. I'm representing Skol, the gang, you know the name. It's a Minnesota thing. Put that on the purple blood that's running through these golden veins. Hail, sleet, snow, or rain, regardless, we gon' go to games. $1 billion stadium on Sundays, they don't close the bank. Fail, rarely get your tail buried. Give his JJ to JJ on Hail Marys. I'm like Aaron Jones, I see the field clearly. Gain 150 yards off of 12 carries. And 2 tugs, I see you crack a can of ice cold whoop ass on the Packers fan. Downtown Minneapolis, we pack the stands and put our hands above our heads when we clap our hands. That's how we clap our hands, we put our hands above our head when we clap our hands. Now clap your hands and put your hands above your head when you clap your hands. That's how we clap our hands, we put our hands above our head when we clap our hands. I said clap your hands and put your hands above your head when you clap your hands. Purple and gold, that's all we know. Purple and gold, we holla Skol. Purple and gold, this how we roll. Purple and gold, now holla Skol. Purple and gold, this how it goes. Purple and gold, we holla Skol. Purple and gold, that's how you know. Purple and gold, now holla Skol. If you from Minnesota, let me know. If you from Minnesota, here we go. Minnesota notice. I'm known to Skol and then blow the coldest. And Skol until I got scoliosis. So when we Skol, we so ferocious. So just know, just way before 84 was the dopest. We showed you who the purple and the gold is. If you from Minnesota, let me know. Right now. If you from Minnesota, here we go. Minnesota. And gold, that's all we know. Purple and gold, we holla Skol. Purple and gold, this how we roll. Purple and gold, now holla Skol. Purple and gold, this how it goes. Purple and gold, we holla.
Welcome into the Scene Project Sports Network. You are here tonight for Vikings United. You know what time it is. It's time for that mock draft 2.0. We're excited to be here. Got my boy Big B with me as always. He's got the Skol clap on.
That's what's up? Is it Thursday yet? I mean, come on. I mean,
yeah, get it done, right?
if you can't get hyped up listening to that song again. Shout out to Prince who made that for us. But, man, draft is, 48 out? No, today's Tuesday. Yeah, less than around 48 hours until draft. Got a lot to talk about. Giants made a big move. Can't wait to see how that affects the draft. Can't see what the Vikings do. Hopefully they hit a home run at 18. So –
no doubt. Waiting for Coach Cody still. I hope someone let him know that we're on. I'm sure we did. but we'll get back to him. We got a special guest with us tonight from our SPSN Scratch Project. Pods Plays Golf going to join us tonight. Pods, what's shaking, buddy?
Not much. Just doing a little bit of cramming right before this. So
there you go. Hey, that's all right. I don't study at all. I just roll with it.
Nope, that's why we got all our devices in front of us. Just roll with it.
Yeah.
Man,
and I don't know if Cody's going to be joining us because he just posted a nice little dinner plate there and looks like he's at some kind of steakhouse, porterhouse or something. So,
nice.
Yeah. So if he's not working, he's eating. So
finish.
Hey, I've just finished up all my anniversary stuff. We're gonna have cake after this, but
I
just
happy anniversary.
Thank you.
I'm sure she's excited.
I shaved. I got nice looking for her and everything.
I see that. Well, tonight's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do our mock draft 2.0. A little bit different than the last time. We did pass a couple of trades back and forth last week. This week, we're going to use the NFL mock draft database today, where actually we'll have trades that'll be coming in as well as being able to make our own trades. So, yeah, we'll kind of see a little bit better idea, maybe what's out there and everything. I'm excited about it. It's, really, we're just passing time, right? We're passing time. We're excited. We're ready to get this underway. Vikings, that pick 18 on Thursday. What are they going to do with it? Do they stick and pick? Are they trading back? Do they package something together to trade up? We've talked about it ad nauseum. You've heard it on all the other platforms. Raps had some really great coverage of the team. Justin Jefferson had some really interesting comments this week as well as they started, off-season team activities, and you got to hear from him for the first time since the Vikings signed Kyler Murray. I thought that was really pointed. And you sent the quote to me, B, and I listened to it today on Purple Daily. They were talking about it as well. And, I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying since the signing happened. I don't think and I think it's fine to say that Kyler is the front runner for that job. I think anyone with a brain would assume that as well. But you want to leave the door open for J.J. McCarthy to show the growth that you want to, you've been expecting from this young man, and to go out there and ball out against it, his teammate, and to provide that. And what I've always stated is that you have raised the floor of your quarterback room this year substantially by bringing in a talent like Kyler Murray. Do I think he's the day one starter still? It seems to be kind of the odds-on favorite at this point. But even your statements from Jefferson kind of left that door open. It sounds like he's been working with him and getting out there and making sure that he's ready. And, I'm still bullish on J.J. McCarthy, whether that's for better or worse. I know a lot of fans are just out and done with him, and Kyler is all of a sudden the savior of this entire franchise and their playoff woes. I don't think that's the case at all. I'm a little more measured with, my opinions there. Kyler's proven to be a more than capable quarterback in this league, but that was also when he was, fresh, ready, and, new to the league. At this point, the tape's kind of out on this player as well. Coming off a major injury, you don't know what you're going to get out there on the field. And I just think that whether it's JJ having to prove himself with just second team reps, I'm okay with that too. I feel like he can show you things just with the reps and with his footwork and all these things that they've really been hammering on him about, and can make a difference. And, you're still rolling the dice that Kyler Murray makes it through the season without an injury. I know that there's I don't think he's necessarily injury prone. These things happen in the league, especially with guys that move around like he does. But I would feel a lot better knowing that you have a young talent in McCarthy waiting there rather than, Carson Wentz. And Carson was serviceable last year. The guy just had his whole shoulder replaced this year, right? Like, and I know it's the non-throwing shoulder, maybe not as big of a deal, but we're still talking about a major injury on that front as well. So to just you put yourself right back in the same position as you were last year, by scrambling. So I like what they did. I think it's going to be interesting to see what plays out over the course of these OTAs. And then you're going to have, rookie mini camp, veteran mini camp, and then on into a full camp before the season gets started. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there for a JJ McCarthy to make some noise. And I think that, Justin Jefferson's comments today kind of echo what we've been saying here at SPSN.
No, and, all along, Kyler Murray, to me, you sign him. You didn't sign him to be a backup. You sign him most likely to be the starter. You want JJ to learn. To me, I still think it's going to affect how the play is based on the offensive line. That's something I still think that needs to be addressed. Is Kyler Murray better than JJ? Maybe. Maybe he can make some different plays based on his experience in the league. Guys, remember, this is technically JJ's third year, second year off the injury. So I just hope it motivates the kid, like Jefferson said. Hopefully he steps up. Hopefully he's motivated. Hopefully he comes in with the ego and that he wants to beat Kyler Murray out and outperform him. I referenced to the movie Draft Day when they're in the locker room. The quarterback is upset because they traded for the number one pick. And he's just like, fine, draft him. I'll just beat him out. And that's kind of the way McCarthy, I hope, takes this. And, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he beats him out, but yet they still start with Murray. Might be a possibility, but I just think he's got to just step up and show that he is Minnesota's future, because that's something Minnesota hasn't had since Dante Culpepper. Franchise quarterback to build around, and that's something we've been climbing for years.
No doubt. And you have an opportunity here. And Pods, I don't know how much you've been, following a little bit of the drama in the offseason here with the Vikings. But what are your thoughts on kind of just the situation, I guess, as it is? Having a young quarterback who didn't have a great season, but you also didn't have a lot of setup for success in that season. You bring in a veteran guy that you didn't have to spend a lot of money on. I think that's the most unique part of this situation, is that you were paying Kyler Murray just over $1 million to come in. And this is obviously a starting caliber quarterback in this league. Someone who was drafted. Was he a number one pick? Yeah, he was a number one overall pick. Winner. Right. So, obviously, there's no doubting the talent that a Kyler Murray has. Now, I think what we've alluded to a lot in our talk is the kids want to, right? Does he want to be a great player in this league, or does he just want to kind of, kick his feet up and be, a good player, right? Or a pretty good player even at that. So interesting to me to see what happens. Is this a motivating factor for him coming to a new team that's not the Arizona Cardinals, that have playoff aspirations, that have a top 10 defense, an organization that's obviously run a lot differently than the Arizona Cardinals? So is it a motivating factor to Kyler Murray as well? What's your thoughts, Pods?
I think that it is a motivating factor to definitely have the opportunity to go to the playoffs, because for one, you've got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. So that's a viable 1-2 punch right there on your offense. You've got Hawkinson as your tight end, which is really nice. It's a really good blocking piece and a leak out option route guy who can leak off the line after a chip and get you 5-10 yards in the end zone, or if you need a critical third down. I think the problem that I have with both quarterbacks is their mentality. Now, could it be that Kyler developed that mentality because, oh my gosh, I'm playing in Arizona, why the hell should I care? This organization doesn't even take itself seriously. Which, to anyone who says that, you know what, that's kind of true, because they really haven't taken things seriously since Fitzgerald and Warner were in the building. It's just been a constant rebuild for the last 15 years. Then you have J.J. McCarthy, which I understand you're bullish on the kid because he was your guys's. When did you guys draft him? First round, what pick?
10th overall.
Yeah, 10th overall 3 years ago.
You should have picked him up in the third round. Honestly, and I know you're bullish on him, Bubba, but J.J. McCarthy is going to be a backup within the next 2 years. If that. The kid's just not that good. And mentally, he's not mature at all. He's still playing like he's in high school. Or like he still played in that Michigan National Championship. He still thinks like, I'm that guy, when he's not that guy. He's one of 32 other guys. The only group of guys right now that there is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, if he decides to stay or not. There's been some retirement talk from him, I think, due to injuries and whatnot, and him questioning how mobile he'll be after his career, which, hey, fair to him. And then the guy in there, Justin Herbert, which I don't think he gets talked about enough. So, those are your guys right now. J.J. McCarthy couldn't lace their cleats as he is right now. He needs to be in the film room.
So where does Kyler fall on that list then?
If Kyler...
So he's not a guy either, is what you're saying, is that Kyler isn't one of those elite guys, but
no.
He's 20.
Kyler is like your tier 2, like your tier 3 kind of guy. He's a serviceable starter, but he's not going to make or break your franchise. He's like your Alex Smith, maybe a little less than an Alex Smith. He will keep you on a steady pace until you find that guy. He's a bridge quarterback at best. I personally think you guys should trade your 18th pick and maybe someone else and try to trade up in the draft to go get a quarterback, or hang on to it and see what the quarterback class looks like next year. Unless you plan on trading and making a big blockbuster free agent signing here in the next couple of years. But pretty much all the QBs are locked down right now that are worth anything.
No,
so you're going to have to get out of the draft.
There's no one in this draft, QB. There's only one quarterback that's in the top. So, yeah. I mean, if you're going to do that, you're looking at next year to draft a quarterback. And I don't know that Kevin O'Connell wants to go that route anyway. He doesn't want a young quarterback. He wants a veteran that understands the game.
Then you guys are going to be struggling for the next 8 years.
What do you call the last 80 years?
Yeah.
Pain.
Yeah. No, Pod, you're right. I mean, now I still think McCarthy still has to prove that he can play. I'm not one that says that, he's going to be a backup with a bust. To me, I still think we have to get a serviceable offensive line and see what this kid or Kyler Murray can do. I mean, even if Wentz. I mean, last year our offensive line was garbage. And, I mean, look at what Seattle did. They have a decent offensive line. They took Sam Darnold, went to the Super Bowl. Now, a lot of Viking fans here and Bubba might be able to. It did, but again,
thanks for tuning in, KP. Appreciate you.
Would have Darnold put up the same numbers behind that offensive line that the Vikings had? Probably not.
Appreciate you even more, Vivian.
What's up? Thanks for the comments and stuff. But that's really my whole look at it.
We appreciate you tuning in, though.
Yeah, that's my whole thought of it. Is you can't tell me that Sam Darnold would have put up the same numbers he did in Seattle here with this offensive line, and that's my key thing. Is I need to see a better offensive line before I could judge JJ or Kyler Murray on how successful they'll be in this offense.
Let me talk to you about this, because there's a lot of talk right now, obviously, about trading JJ now because his value can do nothing but go down if he's a backup this year to Murray and doesn't see the field. You're not going to get as much value as you are at the current moment, even if that is a third-round pick. I'm not necessarily in that camp. But Pods, what do you think? I mean, you've got an outside perspective here. If somebody calls with a third or fourth round pick for your young quarterback that you were hoping was the future of the franchise, are you taking that deal and just cutting bait and moving on?
I think I take that deal just simply because that 3rd round pick could get me another offensive lineman.
Yep.
And that's more valuable at this current point in time and in the future than a project.
Yep. No, Pods, you're exactly right. And honestly, there's, in my eyes, look at the roster, there's maybe 3 guys on the Vikings roster that's untouchable. Jefferson, the kicker, and I like Madison, so I wouldn't trade Madison, but those definitely are the 2 for sure guys that I would not trade. Anybody else you call and I feel the offer's worth it, I'm trading.
Yeah. And the thing too is, if you can get a 3rd rounder for JJ, that helps you get a lineman, but also that also secures your 18th pick with getting someone like, okay, let's see, if in the 18th pick, I would go with someone like, if you need interior, McDonald from Ohio State. He's that nose guard interior, 31, great run stopper, great at applying pressure in the pass rush. But then you've also got where you need your safety help, and you've got to get someone like Caleb Downs out of Ohio State.
Yeah, Caleb's not going to be that far. A lot of mock drafts I've seen, Vikings are taking a defensive player, and most likely it's going to be the safety or corner, Tilleman. We drafted him last week on our show at 18.
Thieneman, I think how you say it, Thieneman, and then the next quarterback who we've kind of talked about on that list, and that's kind of in that range, has been Avion Terrell. I've seen him mocked in that space a little bit. Some people are higher on him than others. But yeah, I think we just go ahead and hit it. We've talked enough about it. Let's go ahead and start the draft. Obviously, we know the Las Vegas Raiders are first on the clock. I'm pretty sure what's going to happen here, but I'm going to go ahead and hit start.
I still feel the Raiders should trade that pick.
Are we pausing at any point to talk about a trade up? Maybe 12, I think, is kind of a spot where we have explored before, but I guess we can kind of
I would say if we stop at 10, let's stop at 10, see who's out there first, and then we can think about if we got enough mustard to move up from 18.
Giants just picked Caleb Downs at pick 10.
Yeah,
so as I stopped, that's kind of where that fell.
And that's the thing too. Now with the Giants with 2 first-round picks, I mean in the top 10, I mean that kind of changes up a lot of mock boards. I think Harbaugh is going to go strong on defense. He's got a young coach.
Well, he just traded Dexter Lawrence, so
yeah.
With their pick number 5, the Giants got Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then Caleb Downs just went with their 10th pick.
Yeah.
So no real, to me, that was the one player that you were trying to trade up for. I don't think you got enough juice to get into the top 10, but I was kind of playing around with it earlier with that. Was able to get to 12 with giving up some late round picks and shuffling some stuff around. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it. We're just going to roll to the 18th pick, see if any offers come our way and what we can get moving here. So we have
realistically, I think the Vikings. What's that, Bubba?
5 trade offers.
Okay, let's hear them. What's up, Daniel?
We appreciate you, Vivian. Thanks. We appreciate you subscribing. Wife Danielle is in here. Vivian, my wife Danielle, is in the chat with you there. We appreciate you ladies tuning in with us on our mock draft 2.0. Sorry, just want to address the comments. Let's jump back in to what we got going on in the draft here. So 5 separate trade offers that came in here, fellas. The first one was from New England. Now, there is no first round pick back on this one. So interesting strategy here, but they did offer a second, a third, a fourth, actually 2 fourths, and a 2027 second rounder. So with 5 picks for the 18th, but you are sliding all the way back to your first pick in the draft is not happening until pick 49 it would
But
be.
we could use some of that firepower and move back later in the first round.
And let's see now. Thieneman is still on the board. So, I mean, that's a Thieneman and the tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, who we've talked about a lot as well, still on the board. Some notables left on the board, too. Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami. Offensive tackle, Spencer Fano out of Utah. Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Kenyon Sadiq, who I just mentioned, and then Dylan Thieneman are kind of your, rounding out those next maybe 5 players on the big board that are available. Is passing on your safety, who I think everyone is pretty high on. All of the mock drafts have kind of had that in there. Are you passing on that for 5 picks and coming out of the first round completely? To me, coming out of the first round entirely just doesn't seem like a great move. So let's look at the rest of the offers. That was from New England. Same thing. This Baltimore one doesn't even sniff it. They wanted to trade their a second next year and a round 5 next year. We don't want anything to do with that. KC's offer is not even worth bringing up. Cleveland's offer, again, not much there. So really what you're getting in value in pushing it out, you're getting a lot of picks from New England for that 18, but you are pushing your entire draft now into the second, third round, and adding that second next year, I think, is extremely valuable with what they're already talking about being a much deeper draft. That piece may be something, Pods, as you were alluding to earlier, that may become a asset to trade up in the first round to maybe go get yourself a quarterback of the future if you decide to go that way.
So they didn't even throw in the 31st pick?
No. This was straight. They are trading the rest of their draft essentially to go up and to draft twice in the first round. So that would put the Vikings drafting 49, 63. I think we have an 80 something, the 95. We would have, I think that would make 4 fourth rounders in there. So you want to talk about restacking a lineup and bringing it in. Now, the problem being that you're not getting that grade A talent. You're probably not getting starters. That second round pick, I would say, probably. Your third round pick, more than likely a serviceable backup, maybe not getting anything out of them this year other than maybe some special teams, depending on who you pick there. The fourth rounders, hard to say, right? I think we would all agree you don't know what you're going to get with the fourth rounder, but that could be guys that end up starting in the league for 10 years as well, right? And you're getting 2 shots at that. To me, the most enticing piece out of all of this is actually the 2027 second rounder next year. It's really hard. Go ahead, B.
What would be interesting is I like it, but it would be interesting to see what we could do with those picks and maybe drop down 1 or 2 and still get the tight end or the corner. I mean, that would, or the safety. I mean, that would be kind of interesting. What's that?
I said, I don't know if I could counter offer them. This is your second. Give us your first, right? We'll drop.
You're not getting their first,
third, fourth, right? Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I would stay there. I mean, I like the offer. I like the picks. It would be something that it would be different if we could stop at every pick and be like, okay, Carolina's next. Let's see if we could take some of the assets we just got and move back into that pick and see if we can get our corner, But I would honestly just draft our corner at 18 if he's still there.
See, here's what I think. And guys, I don't mean any disrespect when I say this because I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so we've had great success drafting defensive, especially in the secondary in the late rounds. I would take the trade because that is shoring up a lot of draft stock. And then on top of that second round pick next year could become crucial in moving up to pick again. And that could also, if you don't end up using that, could be used as trade leverage to get back into the first round, even if it's the late first round to get into like the 22nd pick or something.
Yeah. No, and you're right. That's why it is intriguing to me. And it's one of those things. If we had a whole day to sit here and be like, okay, let's see what, who does New England draft? And I mean, honestly, if the tight end, if we did a scenario on the tight end and the safety are gone, I'm definitely taking that trade 100 times.
New England would be giving you this trade offer to go and get another lineman to shore up that line for May.
Yeah.
But here's my thing, and I know, like, because sometimes as a Chiefs fan, we have to, like, come back down to reality and be like, okay, we would want Jeremiah Love, but we just went and got Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
So our 9th pick realistically is probably going to be Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami for the defensive edge because we plan on probably trading Chris Jones.
Yep.
Now, for the Vikings, I would trade that 18th pick because then not only are you getting draft capital and getting that crucial second-round piece, but this season's already a bust. You already don't have the line, and you don't have the.
Well, no, and you're right. We don't have the line, but I mean,
and this season you could be using this season though to trade some older pieces to shore up for next season, and you can talk to Kyler.
And that's something that Bubba's always brought up too: is we got to get younger. And the thing is the Vikings have to hit. And we brought this up as a Viking fan; they got to hit this draft. So, I mean, is it the capital, the game players?
Giggles, should we just accept this trade? That would
accept it.
I would accept it.
3/3, 2 seconds, 3/3, 2/4, and that's just getting started. You know what? If we want to fix it, because we did the trade where we stuck and pick last time, I like it. I had rejected.
So I like the trade too, but I also like that corner. So. That's the thing that would stop it like
forward and draft next year and see what that second round pick ends up becoming. That's like my one trepidation is like you're trading for one pick that you don't know what comes of it, but that gives you 2 second round
we can also take that second round next year, maybe a second this year, and trade with Pittsburgh or trade with Dallas, somebody that's a couple picks down if our guy is still sitting there,
Let's just
you still get those 2 4ths and a 7th.
We're down to New England's 31st pick.
You went quick.
Dylan Thieneman went 28th. Kenyon Sadiq went 27. So those are, and then Avion Terrell went at pick 30. So
we could have probably stopped it and probably got back in the first round.
Yeah.
Possibly, but is it worth trading the capital that you just stacked up to trade right back to get into the first?
Yes and no, because the down the road or the contract for Tillman at 18 is going to be a lot different than at 28 or whatever. So, but again, we did it. We traded. We got some capital. Because there was Bubba, there was a lot of guys we liked size-wise later in the rounds that we just didn't. We were tossing and turning.
And we're still here with New England at 31 as well, and Seattle 32 with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo. You have you still have some guys in here. Do we want to see just for fun what it would take to trade back, maybe not with New England, but to trade with Seattle for that 32 overall?
I can tell you.
What?
I think you've got 2 aging players right now that you could trade on a 1-year mercenary deal to them to potentially get in that pick, and you could put together a package with potentially either Harrison Smith or Hargrave to get after that.
It's not on contract, I don't believe. We kind of went over that. I cannot trade players in this mock draft simulator.
Just picks.
That would be awesome. Hey, I'm not paying PFF, who's about to go under right at the end of their last gasp here before the draft. I'm not giving them any money. I don't care enough about this stuff to do that. But let's see. For 32, let's see what it would take to get that. Can we trade the 1 and the 3 that we traded? Nope, that's not enough. Nope, that's not we can trade all the picks that we got from New England back, and it's still not enough.
No.
All right, let's move on then. I mean,
you guys have to remember too that you guys can get people off of practice squads as well. Yeah, that are kind of sneaky.
So, but the thing is we can't. I mean, as a fan and as a guy that wants to get younger, I mean,
well, this is how you do it, right? That trade says we are folding this year, right? It says we're not
folding. Smith is not going to come back.
We are restocking the coffers and doing it. We did get
it probably buys KLC. It probably buys KLC another year because you trade out of the first round. So
Bubba, I got to ask you this, as you guys are both Vikings fans, right?
I am. Yeah. Bubba came over last year because of things. So
would you win? Okay, and this is going to sound, but Kansas City, and we had to do this too. If not now, then when? When do you restock? When do you finally start building for the future? Because I'll tell you something.
That's a lot of talk in Minnesota right now, Pods, is that you're always trying to stay in this competitive window and always just make the tournament, but never building a championship roster because you're always picking middle of the pack. You're never doing enough. You're piecing it together with, veteran quarterbacks that you're trying to make it work with. Your defense ends up being stellar because you have a wizard in Brian Flores as your DC that puts together this kind of amoeba defense that is a hybrid and just gets the best out of the players. But you are constantly struggling. I think a lot of people obviously look to the quarterback position, and that was the swing that they took 3 years ago when they drafted McCarthy. Was okay, then we're going to get a young guy and to go out there and get it. Did they pick the wrong guy?
Yes.
It would seem at this point the answer is yes. But you also selected him at 10th overall, right? You didn't draft him 2 or 3. I was a Chicago fan my entire life. I watched this draft Mitch Trubisky, and now they have Caleb Williams, who I think is extremely talented, but half the city hates him and everything that he represents as well. So you can't win. And they passed on Mahomes. Right.
Well,
and I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, and the thing is the one thing is the Vikings had a chance to rectify everything in 19 when Lamar came out, and they ended up canning Caleb. They signed Kurt. They could have drafted Lamar, 2 picks after the Vikings. And we probably would have had our quarterback set up.
I think what he's trying to say is in 19, they should have drafted Lamar because he has more versatile, the dual threat there, but instead they locked it down, gave Kirk that huge contract, which, hey, they got it to a couple playoffs, even though the furthest run they got was Case Keenum. Before that,
I would brought Case Keenum back and then drafted Lamar and rolled with that way.
But here's my thing, though. We talk about these quarterbacks, right?
Yep.
And we talk about the offensive potential does Lamar Jackson become Lamar Jackson, though, if he gets drafted by the Minnesota Vikings? We know what he is now because he's a quantifiable, product.
Yeah,
we know what we get.
To have the revisionist history after the guys won an MVP.
Yeah.
Well, I said that
if he gets drafted by Minnesota, I think he's a bust. Because no offense to Minnesota, but especially during that time,
we can't do this. The San Francisco trade that they offered was 2 fourths this year, a third next year, and 2 fourths next year to trade out of the 49th pick. We can't do that. We gotta pick somebody. Yeah. Otherwise, the draft just becomes ridiculous. Rejecting both of these, we're gonna go ahead and pick at 49. And we got some
who's available.
Jadarian Price is on the list here. C.J. Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. Chase Bizantis, interior O-lineman out of A&M. Caleb Banks, a defensive lineman out of Florida. Jadarian Price was someone we've picked before.
I think you take Jadarian Price there.
One name on here notable because I know how much Thor Nystrom of Thor Talks Purple and Purple Daily. Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech, available 44th on the big board here. What we've done, and also I want to say Cody's guy, D'Angelo Pons, is available on here as well, although he is pretty far down the board at 50 yet, with about 8 players in front of him. That may be something that we could pull a move for, trading back up with some of that capital that we acquired. I am definitely on the Jadarian Price and stacking up your running back room, given what's available on the board right now. Someone we did pick in our last one, although we traded back at that 18 and actually picked this an extra pick up in that draft. But Pods, what's your thoughts?
I take Jadarian Price there because it gives someone to split the reps with Aaron Jones, and it gives you that guy who can be your first and second down back and give Aaron Jones and him more opportunities on third downs to keep these guys fresh. You guys definitely need depth in your running back room. And as you've already said,
a lot of him last year, but I think a lot of Vikings fans really liked what we saw out of Jordan Mason. Where he lacks is in the pass protection, right? And I don't think you can at this time in the NFL, especially with a guy that is in his now mid-30s with Aaron Jones, who you're there because you can count on him in every situation, mostly bringing him on, I would assume, as like a third down back to pass block a little bit, to chip and then release would become kind of his only usage. I would think at that. And you leave yourself a 2 with one guy being able to possibly step in and carry the load for you in the future. So I like the Jadarian Price, just stick and pick here. B, how about you?
Yeah, let's go with it. I mean, we did it last time. You know, I'm all about getting that guy later, Emmett Johnson, I think from Nebraska, that's from Minnesota later. So if he's there, you know, that's where I want to go. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's take him.
We got him. Well, and we do have that second round pick at 63 as well. I paused it at 61, the Rams pick here, just to see if there's anybody on the board that we really, want to make a run for, maybe want to trade up a few picks to go get, fearing that they may not be there. Christian Miller, defensive lineman out of Georgia. Eli Stowers, the tight end out of Vanderbilt. Anthony Hill Jr., a linebacker out of Texas. Anyone on that short list there that are worth, you feel like, trading up for to keep someone from drafting them ahead, or we just stick 2 picks back and see what happens?
I say we stick 2 picks back.
I think you stay. I mean, Anthony Hill's a really good player, but he's inconsistent. So I would just take your 2 picks and stay down there.
Both of those guys stayed on the board over that time as well. So best players available right now. We're at pick 63. This was part of the trade package that we got from New England for that 18th overall. So you got Eli Stowers at tight end, Anthony Hill at linebacker still, Keelan Rutledge, interior offensive lineman, Mike Washington, we just took a running back though, Josiah Trotter, linebacker out of Missouri, and Derek Moore, your edge rusher, which are kind of the top people around in that. Keontae Scott being someone who fills a need, I would assume. I know we've had his name on a couple of our previews as well. He's 64 on the big board, and I want to say he's the 5. He's the 7th best player available, according at least to this board. So,
well, let me ask you two a question.
Yeah.
Do you have faith in Brian Flores' amoeba-like scheme with the defense, to where you feel like you could take Stowers there and add to the run block and the pass block?
I like Flores. I like what he's done with everybody. I mean, Bubba, we've talked about it before that, this was a must hit for Minnesota to bring Flores back, to have any kind of hope this year. So,
well,
I think Flores pick whoever he wants, and he can
Well, and there's the thing is that we talked a lot about pre-draft, and in our other draft, we kind of did that, right? We stuck and picked the Thieneman. We took those grade A players that to give that defense some dogs, but he's able to get the best out of everyone, and you have a plethora of third and fourth round picks now because of the trade back that you have. I think 2 or 3 thirds and the fourth. So I'm not exactly here. Let me skip ahead in our draft
because I would take Stowers.
And we've talked a lot about tight end. I know you like Hawk, but I think he's pretty well cooked. You don't really have much behind him in the way of a guy that can be good for the next whatever it is, right? We have a really good blocking tight end that we like a lot, but really nothing behind those 2 guys. And Hawkinson just is not the same player he was before the massive injury, and he's just aging, right? That's why they restructured his contract. That's why he agreed to the restructuring, knowing the writings on the wall, but wanting to stick around and make a run. So coming up for our picks, round 3, we're at pick 82. Then I
take Stowers at that pick.
Then at 97. So we have 3 third-round picks within 10 picks of each other. So 80, what did I say? 89, 96, or 95, and 97. So you could get 3 guys that are really 82, 95, 97 in the third round, and then the couple of fourth-round picks as well, where we didn't have picks prior to that trade. So I think I'm with Pods on this one. I like drafting a great-looking tight end out here, probably the second, I would assume, second tight end on the board behind your Kenyon Sadiq, who dropped a little ways from his big board anyway. And I think you get a little bit more NFL talent, NFL ready, and more of what this team likes to do rather than a Sadiq with your Eli Stowers. So I'm with that pick. Go stick and pick here. B, you good with that?
Yeah, let's so we're taking who now?
Eli Stowers, tight end out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he's the number 2 on ESPN's board. So yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, we're getting a win second round.
Second round. So essentially what you've gotten by trading back, you've gotten the number 2 running back on the board and the number 2 tight end on the board. And you have 3 third-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks that could honestly, on Brian Flores' defense, be very serviceable if second-string borderline starters, possibly, depending on the talent.
So on ESPN's board, yes, he's the second overall tight end. They have him 36th ranked overall.
On the big board, right? And on this board with the draft database, it was 48 overall. They had him. So
we're
getting know how these teams boards are falling either. I like
that. Would be a steal.
That's what I would think, right? Yeah. You got 2 really good players here.
And we took Price Wynn second round
at our 49th overall,
and he was slated to go. Let's see here. He was slated to go 50th, so we got him in the ballpark.
Right. So I paused it at pick 77, Tampa Bay on the clock. They're 77 to 82. They're 5 picks ahead of us, and just kind of wanted to review the board. I feel like we have capital that we could trade up into this pick very easily if we wanted to. So just a quick review, what's available, who's still out there. The big board right now as it's falling, you got Mike Washington, running back, not really a need there. Josiah Trotter, linebacker out of Missouri still. Keontae Scott, your cornerback out of Miami, is available there. Hey, Pods, this one's for you. Carson Beck, the QB out of Miami, if you wanted to maybe grab somebody to have to develop out there. Dominique Orange, big citrus, I think is what Thor's been calling this guy. He is the 5th best player available on here, so he could technically be available for you, but a big DN or a defensive lineman out of Iowa State there. Are we making a move with Keith Abney, kind of being on that verge? What was that?
Who was the defensive back?
Defensive back was Keontae Scott, the cornerback out of Miami. The U.
That would be the only one I would think about potentially moving to get. Carson Beck, I wouldn't even draft him with a 5th round pick.
I just wanted to throw it out because you were talking about drafting a QB because you're hating on JJ McCarthy.
I'll take JJ McCarthy over Carson Beck.
Well, there you go. See, why would you want to trade him for a 3rd round pick? Because you could fill other needs on the team. I get it.
Is Slaughter still available?
What was that?
Is the center Jake Slaughter still available?
I don't think we've even seen a run on centers yet.
Because he's supposed to go roughly around 80.
Yeah, Sam Hecht, 87th on this one. And for what I saw, that he was your kind of top. He was the top center on a lot of boards from what I saw. Connor Liu.
Slater, Slaughter, and Heck are the top 2 centers.
I don't think the first one is available yet. He may have gone, and I can rewind a little bit to see where he went. Yeah, it's crazy the way these things fall, because we've had some guys we drafted in like way different areas. So I don't see his name on here. So I don't know. Just for the exercise, let's see what it would take to make a trade up to 77 to get our guy, right? I think that's the point that you're getting here is that we want this guy. We want to make sure that he's not going anywhere. At this point, I think a lot of people have who they want out there. So we're going to see if we can trade the 97 overall with I don't know, what do you think, Pods? Would you need to trade a 4th to get up that 5 spots? A 5th is not enough. So 4th not enough. Would you have to trade 82 and a 4th? Would that do it? Okay, so 82 and one of the 4ths that we acquired from New England would be enough to move up. I'm going to try to go as low as possible here. Even the lower one, what about a 5th? 5th even would do it. Even a 6th would do it. A 7th isn't enough. So we could trade our 6th rounder and swap picks with Tampa Bay to go up 5 spots and to get our guy, because at this point you're looking at it because you don't
swapping
think
the current picks and the extra is the 6th round.
Swapping 82 for 77 and us giving them our 6th at 196, and then we still have 95 and 97 as well. To me, kind of a no-brainer. It probably
take the corner
a little bit, but we move up to the 77th pick. We take Keontae Scott, and we call it good.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because that's a hell of a development right there. And I think with Brian Flores, Scott, with what he showed, what he could do at the U, I think he's NFL ready within 2 and 3 years.
Rejected all the other trade offers. Nothing that was even worth really noting in there. And we're going to draft Keontae Scott. Fills a big need, and I think you get a really good player there. So we're going to let it run just down to our other 2 third-round picks. We didn't acquire all of that draft capital to get rid of it, but just for the exercise, we will. Oh, well, I didn't pause quite enough. I paused to right before our pick, which doesn't really make a difference, but yeah, I mean, not a lot here. Sam Hecht is still available, though. We just have to get through Miami, so. And they did not take him. So
I would say we take the number 2 center.
He is down the board a little bit as well. So we did have a couple of trade offers come in. Tampa Bay trying to get some more 3rd round action. They wanted they are trading a 4th, a 5th, the 6th rounder that we just gave them, and a future 6th. Denver with a 4th, and then 2 picks in next year, late round picks in next year's draft. We're not trading into the Bears. That's not happening.
What do we have after this pick?
Several picks.
We ain't trading to the Indiana Bears, okay?
Yeah. We'll see what I don't think any of the offers are really there. I think we got a chance to take interior offensive linemen. The other ones are all wide receivers, and I just don't feel like you need to wait.
I take Heck.
Yeah.
Take the center.
To spend it there. Sam Hecht is there. He's a little bit down the way. Now, here's the interesting thing. We are picking at 97 as well, right? With Hecht being the 80. He's got 5 players in front of him on the big board yet. with only Seattle behind us in between these two picks. That makes it a little bit interesting. Thinking
Who's
that
the
you
best available player on the board?
Best available is Skylar Bell, wide receiver out of UConn, and then it's another Antonio Williams, Elijah Surratt, Davison Igbinosun, cornerback out of Ohio State, and Jay Sean Barham are the guys in front of Hecht. Bryce Lance is below him, and some other
linebackers in there
in here as well. There was the one linebacker, Jay Sean Barham, linebacker out of Michigan, and then some other linebackers farther down. It is interesting to maybe look at the offers again and may possibly consider some big hauls here for that pick, because you are drafting 2 picks later, and we've talked extensively.
We're drafting 2 picks later? Heck will be there in 2 picks. Yeah.
Right. So that's what makes it kind of interesting, right? Is you can stack up more. I'm not really interested in the future picks just because we don't get to play with them. Like trading Indiana offered their 4th rounder, a 6th rounder, next year's 5th.
I know. I will. I'll have to watch Lincoln.
The Tampa Bay one is actually kind of interesting.
I think you take Heck there, and then I think you look at what you have on the
and then possibly
97
and
potentially trade 97.
Get your guy first. I like that. I like that mentality. Get your guy so you don't get cute here. Get your guy and then go from there.
I would get our guy now and then probably trade that pick into then trade your pick.
97 not as valuable to everyone, but we did get an offer back from New England. They wanted to trade this year's 5th, next year's 5th, next year, and 3 6th. And how the hell did they get 3 6th round picks next year? New England, who's been a good trade partner for us. I think we just stick and pick here too. I'm not enticed by any of those. I wasn't enticed enough by the other ones as well, when you can sit and probably get a really, a serviceable player here still. So best available yet here at 97, Antonio Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson, Elijah Surratt, still Davison Igbinosun, cornerback, Jay Sean Barham, linebacker out of Michigan, Bryce Lance, the wide receiver out of North Dakota State. Obviously, a lot of talk around him. The suggestion that they're making is Bud Clark, safety out of TCU, being 89 on the big board here, and obviously being at a position of need for this team. Not really anyone else notable in the, I would say top 10, BPA here.
And what are the offers for the 97th pick?
There was just the one. It was a 5th and a bunch of next year's picks. So it was.
Then I think you take
71. 5 and 3 6 the next year's draft.
I think if you want to stick and pick, then you got to go between Barham and the kid from TCU.
Well, then the talk becomes linebacker or safety. Safety fits the need. We haven't gone and gotten anyone.
We go with the need there. We go with safety.
Then I take the kid out of TCU.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and grab him. And we still have a couple of 4th rounders that are coming up here too. Interested in pausing it at any point to eye a trade, possibly. I'm going to stop at pick 108. That's where Denver is.
Okay.
We don't select until 125.
Oh, she missed that. Who's on the board?
131 are our next picks. Denver on the clock at 108. Let's just take a look at best players available. Jay Sean Barham still there. Bryce Lance still there. So obviously a lot of these players have been getting passed over at this point. I
say let it fly then, because for the most part in this draft, you've already gotten everyone you wanted.
I think you've gotten a lot of talent, and you've
gotten a lot of value so far.
Barham just went at 115. You're starting to get down into the draft. I don't know any of these players. I don't follow it close enough to know.
No, this is where you still try to fill needs, and if somebody drops, to me, if that Emmett Johnson's still there, I think we take him, even though we've already drafted running back.
Fifth round is where the
Minnesota
Kansas City Chiefs drafted Jalen Watson. So
Yeah.
Well, and I know we grabbed Sam Hecht too, but Jake Slaughter still on the board here. He was 107 on this
Really?
board. You double dip. Emmett Johnson at 112 yet still on the board. You have some players here around here, and we have.
you know
these
why I
two-
say you double dip? I say you double dip because you can convert one of them to a tackle.
So we take the number 1 and 2 center.
Who Jalen Farmer, interior lineman. Where's he play at? Is that a guard? It doesn't say. It just says IO line on here, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's probably one of those that you fit both. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the double
You
dip.
could
idea.
honestly-
You
you
take-
could probably double dip, let that pick go. We pick again in 6 picks at 131. You could grab Jalen Farmer, who's a little bit higher on the big board at interior offensive line, and let it ride and possibly grab a Jake Slaughter or an Emmett Johnson later in that too.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah, I'd say we take the guy that you're just talking about, and then we just see if Slaughter or Johnson's sitting there, and then we take him.
Well, I feel like you're going to get one or the other in that in this thing. So I don't know enough about Jalen Farmer to know. We're deep in the 4th round at this point. But
I say let it ride.
Let's grab him. Let's see what happens. And we're picking again. I'm not trading it for next year's picks, although there have been several. Buffalo wanting to trade a 5th and a 6th for that single 4, but that kind of defeats the purpose of what we're talking about. We'll leave it on the player. We'll see who's available here. Jake Slaughter, still available. Emmett Johnson, still available. So I think we have been talking extensively about offensive line help being necessary. We picked up these 2 4th rounders where we did not have them. I like grabbing Slaughter here as well. And, kind of restocking the coffers on that offensive line so that it is not an issue. Maybe here, but not an issue moving forward where you're not talking about drafting a center in the 1st round.
And the thing is, too, is we got both of the position or top 2 in the center position, which one of them should be able to play one of those guards right
Interior
next to the
line.
center. Yeah. Maybe you can't move them out the tackle, but you can play them at guard on either
I
side.
think you can take Slaughter, put him as the primary center, and then take the second best center, which was what was his name? Heck. And then you can move him to either interior left or interior right.
Mhm.
All right.
I
I
like
just
them.
let it ride out till our 5th round pick at 163. Now we're starting to get into the point where we're just kind of drafting on traits, and you're looking for some guys that can maybe turn into something possibly. Best player available is D lineman out of Ole Miss, Xavier Harris. VJ Payne, a safety out of Kansas State. Takario Davis, cornerback out of Washington, still there. Keyshawn Elliott, a linebacker out of Arizona State. And Travis Burke, an offensive tackle out of Memphis. And notable here, I guess, is Cole Payton, the quarterback out of North Dakota State, who's still available with that 5th round pick. I think we have 2 5ths, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I don't. It's hard to remember now. No, we just have the 1 pick. So our next pick isn't until did we trade our 6th round? We did trade a 6th round pick. So this is pretty much our last pick until we get to the 7th when we have back-to-back picks at 234 and 235. So I don't know. There was no offers on the table for this one.
I think you take the kid out of Kansas State.
The safety, VJ Payne.
Yeah.
Since we've kind of, obviously a need at that position yet. No interest. Xavier Harris, can you get a profile on him just to see? I mean, if he's just an animal of a man, right?
Let's see here.
6'5".
Yeah, the twin one, by the way. So, NFL.
Yeah, ZXAVIAN Harris. Out of Ole Miss.
What position?
Defensive line.
Defensive line, okay. So
Just because I think that's a sneaky position of need for this team that doesn't get talked about, because there's so many other ones that are at premium positions that you definitely need help, that you're not necessarily here for need, but you got a BPA kind of, take to this.
let me see
Most of
here.
the suggestions that are being made by the draft simulator as well are the defensive linemen. So maybe you're getting a little more value out of here. We are picking at 163. Xavier Harris on this board was 124. So a lot of value there as far as their big board is concerned.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I don't see. Let's see. Harris. I might not.
Pods likes the safety.
All right, let's go back to D tackles.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's a tackle and not an. They've been dividing this weird where it's edge, defensive tackle, or defensive line, and there.
I'm not seeing them anywhere on either. Let me just see if they have them.
I got him.
Okay.
Yeah, just give us a
Xavier
little
Harris. He is 6'7", 320 pounds. Plays defensive tackle. His 25 season stats were 27 solo, 3 sacks, and 1 interception.
Talking about a guy with some length, but a little light, I feel like, at that height, to really be effective at the NFL. Not that he can't put on 10 to 15 pounds. You need him to put on 30 to not get pushed around by some of these offensive linemen out that probably plays a little high, being such a tall.
I'd actually move him to edge.
Well, and that the Vikings play that weird defensive line too, where it's more of a 3-4. So it would be somebody that would be, I think, in that one of those out, like a 5 tech, I think is what it would be. So you're outside of the guard, in between the guard and tackle, in those spots with a lot of height there. It's kind of an interesting. And to me, it's a little bit of a project in there. VJ Payne, you got anything on him, Pods or B, either way, as far as the safety's concerned?
Payne.
Payne.
Yep. Yeah, out of Kansas State, 11th position, 124th overall. Let's see here. Let's click on him.
He had 40 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, and 3 pass deflections.
Yep. And
That's terrible. So more of a strong safety, I would assume, in that with the
6'3", 208.
Yep.
I like that size a lot. I just drafted him.
I take VJ Payne, so
I just drafted him.
Bring in the Payne.
Like yeah. Well, that's someone who can lay the hammer down at strong safety. We don't have that on this team. That could be a sneaky guy that comes in and ends up starting or being a rotational player in a Brian Flores defense. I like that side. Would you say like 6'3", 208? Yeah, Brian Flores would love that guy. He would love
I know we're talking football right now, but I just thought this would be funny. The Detroit Tigers just forfeited to the Brewers 12-4 today.
Forfeited?
Like forfeited?
You can do that?
No way.
Here, let me show you.
That's wild.
Hold on.
Yeah, sorry, it's a long time in between picks, guys. It's just running. Ow, cat, get the fuck off of me.
Wow.
Now, was it like a rain delay or something? And they just said, hey, it's enough. That's going to be a
I got the whole game going all 9 innings.
So let's see what happened.
I love it. Go ahead. You figure that out. We got 2 picks to make back to back, and then we're done with our mock draft here. So pick 234 and 235. We got some wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback, tight end, and then another running back that are kind of available in this run here. Kendrick Law. I also like Red Murdoch. I just like the name, out of Buffalo, linebacker out of Buffalo. now we've taken this to 7, 8, 9, and we're all very curious as to what the hell happened out there.
Well, because I got them playing all 9 innings, so they scored 3 in the 9th. So, but that would be
wrong button. Somebody hit the wrong button. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and keep filling up that defense. Red Murdoch, linebacker out of Buffalo, if that pick, and then Jalen Husky, a cornerback out of Maryland. We're going to go ahead and draft him too, just to round out our draft and call it a day. Oh, wait, we got one more 7th round pick. How did we end up with all these 7th rounders? So many. And you know what? Just because Cyrus Allen out of Cincinnati, welcome to the Vikings. Just so we can say we drafted a wide receiver in this. Will you stop, Cat?
Well, and that's the thing too. Is
Okay, never mind. They finished the game. That's a little misleading.
Okay,
the
yeah,
website just mislabeled it. But they had Jake Rogers coming in there. It was a blowout.
You know,
12
Big
to 4.
real Matthew Bradford. I don't know why you're even asking me those questions like that.
Right next to Bubba.
Skol State of Mind. We actually, in this mock draft, we traded out of the 18th pick, picked up a couple of 4th rounders, an extra 2nd, and an extra 2nd rounder in next year's draft from New England to trade out of the 1st round entirely. And we're about to go through and check out the rest of
I hope we give us a grade because I want to see what we did.
We'll see about the grade. I'm not sure if they do that. It probably wants to make me do that. Honestly, it's grading it by player. And there are a lot of A's on this card. Jadarian Price was an A. Eli Stowers was an A. Keontae Scott at 77, an A+. Sam Hecht at 95, an A+. Bud Clark at 97, an A+. Jalen Farmer at 125, a B+. Jake Slaughter, a B+ at 131.
Really?
BJ Payne, a B+ at 163. Red Murdoch, an A at 234. Jalen Husky and an A+ at Cyrus Allen for our last pick of the draft. So I got to imagine that all ends up, grading out into a B+, A-, or maybe just a straight A at that. All the B's we had were B+. And I mean, we're just
my first mock draft with you guys, and we're in the high A. There we go.
Well, and that's the thing too. When we did last week, we got what, B-. I mean, we're happy with that. But I mean, this is the kind of draft that the Vikings need this year. They need to hit those guys every pick.
We got a lot of talent in here. There's a lot of guys that are on this list that we talked about that we got that were passed over by other teams and drafted them at a really good value in comparison to their big board. I would be thrilled if I looked at, I know people are probably losing their minds watching this and watching us take wide or running back tight end with the first 2 picks in our draft. Granted, they were in the 2nd round and not that 1st round, but that 18th overall pick is just, you don't know that the guy that you are getting there is a guy, right? Like why
turn away from 4 guys for 1 uncertainty
and possibly and probably another starter next year with your 2nd rounder that you got in that deal as well. So you look at trading that 1 pick, who is a Dylan Thieneman probably is who we would have selected just because that's kind of a position of need, the best player at that position and kind of valued in that range. And you ended up getting Eli Stowers. You traded and packaged some of that value to get up and to grab Keontae Scott ahead of where you were. You ended up getting that Bud Clark, your safety with that inside of that. So you ended up getting a lot of the things that you were going to get and then some. And I think that's hard to argue with. But in this league and in this,
nobody likes an unsexy pick. That's what it is. They look at names and they think, it's going to fix all of our problems.
Right. And I just don't believe it's going to be. I think you can lean on your defensive coordinator to really be a difference maker for you that a lot of other teams can't say that. Right. So
help the offense in the early rounds, shore up the defense in your 3rd through your 7th round.
Yep.
That ended up going really, really well, and we got a lot of talent onto the roster in that. Now, do I think that's what they're going to do? Hell no.
No.
They are using their 18th pick. They're not trading back because somebody's probably not even calling to ask them, hey, will you take this slew of a second next year, a third, and 2 fourths for that? I don't know if that call's being made.
I mean, the calls are being made. I mean, maybe not that many, but I mean, there's going to be calls for somebody for the 18th. Most likely it'll be, if it was true, I would have said the Patriots would have thrown in swapping the first, and then we probably would have gained maybe a second and maybe a fourth. I don't think we would have got everything, but a swap of the first and then a second and a fourth, I think. Maybe you're listening, but they're making calls. I mean, you're getting calls like that all the time.
I think this is the year too. Like, as I'm not a Minnesota Vikings guy, I'm more of a Kansas City Chiefs guy. Obviously, my stepmom loves the Packers, and I don't really care for the Packers that much. I've always kind of gravitated towards the Vikings a little more because for one, purple is one of my favorite colors. And Dante Culpepper was one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Him, Tarkenton. Used to have him and Randy Moss. That connection was electric. So I look at the Vikings, though, and I have to say it. It's like I watch football, and I watch the highlights, but when I watch the Vikings, outside of the defense, there is no identity on the offensive line. There's no identity besides throw it to Addison, throw it to Jefferson, hope for the best.
We talk a lot about it. There's no identity with your head coach, who is also your play caller. Or if he does have an identity, it is deep crosses over the middle. That's what he's going to do.
He's not a head coach. He's a freaking coordinator.
Action. I think opposite. I think opposite of that. I think he can be a very effective head coach, CEO, run the whole team guy. I think people respect him. I think his failings are as the offensive coordinator, right? I think he can be a better head coach if he had an offensive coordinator to call.
Well, who's on the market right now that you could bring in as an OC?
Well, they have an offensive coordinator, right? Like they have.
Okay, who's not a puppet?
They're not playing right.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is our OC is
essentially his mouthpiece.
I don't know that he even gets up and speaks, to be perfectly honest.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is,
Wes Phillips was the offensive coordinator last year, and I don't know if Wes.
Yeah, Phillips is still the coordinator. I think.
Yeah.
Because you look at Chicago and the job they did with Ben Johnson. You need to go find yourself. It may not be to the level of Ben Johnson, but you need to find someone who's of similar thinking for the offense for Ben Johnson.
Identity. We are going to run it until you can't stop it. Look at that game they played against Philly, right? And I said it after we came back after that game that KOC would have thrown up all over himself if he would have called a game like that. 248 yards of rushing. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And that's the problem with KOC is he doesn't like to run the ball. But again, run sets up the pass sets up the run.
And, it's kind of funny for a guy who likes to run crossers that he doesn't like to run draws and counters because draws and counters set up those crossers.
Yep.
So, you've got Jordan Addison, you've got Jay Jettas, and you've got, let's just say, hypothetically, you pick up Eli Stowers. It's not going to do any good if there's no run game to open up these guys in the pass game because you'll get through your first 15 plays, and then they're like, okay, double Jefferson.
Yep.
Bubba, we can't hear you.
Bubba, we can't hear you. But.
Nope.
But no, you're exactly right there. I mean, they need to find a common ground between the pass, the run. And again, I probably sound like a broken record. Everybody's probably just rolling their eyes when I say it.
They need to build a foundation.
They need to build that offensive line foundation. I mean, John Madden always said it. You win the game on the offensive and defensive line. If you can win the line of scrimmage, you're going to win the game.
Right.
And that's what the Vikings need to do.
Because what good is it if your defense is giving you all these all these extra possessions and you're not capitalizing on them?
Yep, and that's why I've been battling with a lot of people. They're like, "Oh, we can take this guy. We can take this guy. We can have this quarterback." It's just like, but it doesn't matter if we can't protect.
What's it matter if that quarterback's getting destroyed behind the line?
Exactly.
Played that all last season. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
we can hear you, but we can't see you.
My cat was back there screwing around. She stepped on a and knocked everything out. We went through this, Pods, at length last year, talking about the lack of a commitment to a running game. Because it helps your offensive line out that we're struggling. I think we had some,
but it also helps your defense because it gives them time to rest.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the games that we lost last year, you could see that the defense just didn't have any gas left in the tank. You're going.
But you can't have the defense on there for 32 minutes out of the 60.
It was atrocious, and I think a lot more of it came down to play calling than the quarterback that everyone wanted to put it on, and to just say that the quarterback sucked. His head coach, play caller, did him no favors last year.
No,
and then the 5 games they won at the end of the year, they started leaning on their run game and producing, and they were winning ball games.
Can I ask you a question, Bubba?
Yeah.
Why would you keep Kevin O'Connell at this point as a play caller?
Well, because you would have to fire him, right? And that's the problem, is that you're pretty happy with him as the CEO of the team. I think they like him. I think they like.
So is there no scenario where they can't like promote him to president of football?
No. He wants to be a head coach. He wants to be a play caller.
He wants to be a head coach. The thing is,
Pods, his seat is hot as can be to start the season this year. If they go 2-4 to start the season with Kyler Murray at the helm, and you made, and granted, it wasn't like it wasn't a lot of money.
What was their record last year
for him? It was they were 9-8 last year.
And the year before,
one more game and been in the playoffs.
That was Sam Darnold the year before, right?
Yeah, Sam Darnold the year before 14-4 or 14-3.
I think if he goes, this is what I think. I think if he goes 9-8 again, or below that, or even 10-7, you got to fire him.
Well, and we talked about that a lot too. That at that point, I think Brian Flores becomes the head coach, and you hire a play caller, offensive coordinator.
Because do you want another Mike Tomlin, where all you do is just go above 500 and barely sneak into the playoffs? Like, great. Mike Tomlin had 21 winning seasons in a row, and you know what he had? 1 Super Bowl and a bunch of mediocrity.
I think this team and this fan base would be really happy with that 1 Super Bowl win.
But you're not getting that. You're just getting a bunch of mediocrity. And there's nothing worse in the NFL.
You know what? You take it back. Everyone wanted to put it on Sam Darnold's shoulders in the playoffs against the, what was it?
That's the whole thing. The one thing with Viking fans is it's always on the quarterback. It's always on the coach. It's never a whole team loss.
Yeah. I think Sam Darnold proved that with his Seattle run that it was more than likely play calling, and it was not the quarterback play. Because you handed him over to, oh God, what's the Seattle head coach's name? He's young.
I know who you think.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The way that he ran
was they had a great running game and a really good defense. And I think that 2 years ago you had it, but KOC, and I've said this a lot on the show, he wants to be the quarterback so fucking bad that's the way he called. Well, this is what I would do. And this is, I would have made that throw. I would, yeah, but you didn't. You didn't make it in the league, dude. So call plays that your players that are out there can see and that they can make, and call it to the strengths of an offense that has things going on. Don't just get back there and go, pass. Well, we're going to throw 40-yard bombs all game and we're going to connect on one of them.
I'm going to say something that might piss off some Vikings fans.
That's what we're here for.
I think Kevin O'Connell is just a poor man's Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
That's what I think. Personally.
No, and I would probably put Shanahan like a full head, maybe not head and shoulders.
I mean, he's gone to 2 Super Bowls and how many NFC championships?
Full head over Kevin O'Connell for sure. And it's easy to like the guy, right? Like I understand it. He's a little smug for my liking. But I think guys like to play for him. And I think the Wilfs like him, right? The owners of the team like him, and they are kind of notoriously a little bit aloof with the team. They're not in the building. They're not in the city, right? They live in New York. They come and visit once in a while. So they're very hands-off owners. And I think that they like him, but I do believe that his seat is extremely hot this year starting out. Have they never fired a coach mid-season, B?
I'm trying to think.
I don't think they have. I think there was
so.
a lot of the talk last year because people were calling for KOC's job then.
I mean, I know they fired the last couple of them, like right before week 17 or right after the last game of the year. They probably have. I mean, but not to my knowledge, because I remember Burns, and then we went into Dennis Green, and I think we had, so.
Denny, those were good days.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Brad Childress was the last one who was fired midseason back in 2010.
Okay.
Brad Childress was fired back in November of 2010, midseason.
So that must have been when not Dungy. Who took over? I don't think Tice took over that time.
I think it was Zimmer after that for a while.
Might have been Zimmer, yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think KOC's seat is hot. I agree with you on a lot.
I think it's simmering. I don't think it's like steaming hot.
No, that thing's got to be hot. You got to win.
Well, but the thing is, I think it's steaming right now on simmer. But if we start off 0-1, 0-2, that fire's going to get consistently heated up. And if we go 0-4 or 5, then we're talking. Okay, let's just.
I think the only way his seat doesn't get hot is if he goes to the owners and he goes to the GM and he explains to them, hey, look, this season pretty much is going to be a wash, but we're going to use this season to build the foundation on our lines and then really hit it next season in the draft room.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is if that scenario plays out that we just did, where we trade the 18th pick, that buys them time. Buys them time.
Will that actually happen is the question. Probably not. So,
right.
I think at best, if he gets fired midseason, which I doubt, he'd have to be like 0-8 to get fired midseason. I personally think. But for him to get fired at the end of the season, I think anything less than 11-5 gets him fired.
Well,
or 11-6 in this case.
They just gave Brian Flores an extension over the year.
Well, I think
a lot about that you have to perform this year. You have to make the playoffs. You have to win a playoff game or you're out the door.
That's the key right there. You got to get into the playoffs. You got to win one game, probably convincingly. You can't just sneak into the next round. You probably got to win it convincingly to keep your job. To get in the playoffs.
The way that everything's kind of shaping up, though, at least from what I've looked outside looking in, is it's kind of looking like if Flores, puts together another great defense, and O'Connell continues to struggle, that they're just going to switch, and he's going to be the head coach, and they're just going to move on from O'Connell.
I think
totally
that's the move. That this is Brian Flores's team. Moving on, I don't know if it comes with an extension past that to extend him, 1 or 2 more years beyond the 3-year deal that he's on.
But again, too, remember, we're also sitting without a GM right now. So that could play a factor too.
And that's what I'm saying. But I think O'Connell's ego would let him go and be a GM, let Flores take the HC, and then them jointly find an OC together. I just don't think that O'Connell's ego would allow him to essentially take a promotion but go away from what he wants to do.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think that's happening, and I don't know that he has the skills to be a
because
a
I mean,
GM
look at the
anyway.
Celtics right now with Brad Stevens. He went from being one of the most successful head coaches, and then he went to arguably being a better GM, and he put his ego aside. He really wanted to be a head coach, all that stuff he did in Butler in college, and now he's put together one of the best rosters in the NBA. And O'Connell has an opportunity to do the same thing in the NFL, but I really don't think his ego will allow him to.
No, he won't allow his ego to get out of the way and run the damn ball. So he definitely ain't doing that. Fun stuff, fellas. This was a cool episode. I'm just ready to get the draft over with. Get a little bit of lull in the season. Looking forward to next week talking about all the new players on this team, finally having it over. I'm much more interested in that. I hate this projection and I'm not going to go study 1,000 college players when we're going to pick 4 of them that are of note, right? Like, come on. I just don't have that kind of time in my day. Bless you people that do out there in the world. I commend you. I don't even have ESPN, so I have no idea what's going on, but I will know who the Vikings pick. We're going to have a great time talking about it next week. Make sure you join us Tuesdays, 8 p.m. for Vikings United. B and Pods, any parting shots?
No, just keep checking us out. The draft is here, 48 hours away. Can't wait to see what trades happen, who goes where, what the grades are going to be. And then you can check us all out on Sunday, 7, 8, 9 to talk some baseball.
Yeah, and on that note, you can come check out the Scratch Project and the Cut Line this Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific time and 10 Central.
You got it, Pods. Looking forward to it, man. Where are we at this week?
Right now, let me look real quick and I'll tell you.
I would
give me like a minute.
John Rahm winning down in Mexico City and one of Liv's last tournaments, possibly.
Shout out to Matt Fitzpatrick for holding off the shark that is named Scotty Scheffler.
Pretty cool watching it.
Best 4-iron out of a bunker I've ever seen in my life. That was just absolutely incredible to watch.
You're telling me you've never hit one like that?
The best that I hit, and it was actually yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before, I hit a 60-degree wedge from about 60 yards away to 6 inches of the hole.
Nice.
And I tap in par. So, can't claim to be doing Matt Fitzpatrick and Scotty Scheffler kind of things, though, unfortunately. So let's see, where are we at this week? We are at I think the World Golf Championships are going on at some point this year too. Just a nice little thing there. PGA, where are we at, guys? RBC Heritage. I know the U.S. Open's coming up really soon.
Fly the W. Cubs win.
There you go.
Win.
Here, let me just look on my laptop. That's easier.
Well, and it's all good. We'll talk about it Saturday. We'll have posts. Keep following.
What was the score?
Network. I just turned it on. I think it was 7-4. They pulled it out. So great time tonight. Fun experiment to see what could happen if you trade back for a haul of picks at 18.
Zurich Classic at TPC, Louisiana.
Okay, nice. Down on the bayou.
Yep.
Getting it done. Well, that's going to be fun. Can't wait to talk about that on Saturday. B, I will see you again on Sunday. I like this. I like what we're building here at the network, getting to cover a lot of great stuff, and I can't wait to get out and see everybody in person. Got some great events planning, getting into the works here for the season. Obviously, really trying to get out to the Viking World Order tailgate to do early season live pregame. I say early season because when they're in December, I'm not going there and doing it live from the tailgate. Freezing. Although the Moss Pit is there to do the show in if need be. The comings and goings out of there, though, it's not particularly warmer at all. So great time, fellas. Appreciate your time today, and looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. As we cheer on our Minnesota Vikings, let's also recognize true heroes. Pillars of Valor coffee isn't just about exceptional taste. It's a veteran-owned company with a powerful mission. With every purchase, you're directly contributing to programs that empower and support veterans and first responders. Imagine starting your day with a rich, bold coffee that also fuels a vital cause. Pillars of Valor Coffee is dedicated to making a tangible impact, honoring those who've served our nation and communities. Join them in their mission. Visit pillarsofvalor.com to learn more and get your bag today. Pillars of Valor Coffee. Great coffee, greater purpose.